And it brings me to the question about then with Dalvin Cook. We've talked about a lot if he got hurt this year, that there's no depth behind him, that there's no backup. We haven't really seen Alexander Madison play. And until he's in training camp, we don't know anything about him. And the other two guys are mildly interesting, Mike Boone and Rock Thomas, and then Amir Abdullah's there. And I guess I can't talk out of both sides of my mouth with this one, where we say, oh, he's the main part of the offense and he's super important and he's got to stay healthy and all these things. And then we circle back and go, don't pay running backs. They ain't worth it. And it's, they're replaceable and all those things. Kind of like, well, which one is it for the Vikings case? I mean, are we overstating how valuable his health is? Because in 2017, I know that they had Latavius Murray, and Murray was a proven running back. And none of these guys are.
Yep.
But Jerick McKinnon was only a guy who had sort of been in the league and gotten some opportunities, and sometimes he did well and sometimes he didn't. And then in 2017, McKinnon earns himself a huge contract. Now, he might be a guy who plays wide receiver sometimes for San Francisco and is actually worth that money when he's healthy. We'll see about that. But they were the 7th best running team in the league in 2017, and Mike Zimmer keeps going back to that, saying, yeah, I want it to be like 2017 when they didn't even have Dalvin Cook, and they figured out a way to still effectively run the ball. I wonder if that's in terms of ranking overrated potential stories as we go into camp.
Yep.
I think that one is right up there with wide receiver 3 for being the most overrated potential storyline.
Here's why I don't agree with that, because overall, big picture, I do think that running backs shouldn't be paid, and I find their position overall to be eminently replaceable with guys. But in the Vikings, on a case-by-case basis here, the Vikings, I think, have painted themselves into a corner and a position where Dalvin Cook is incredibly important to them. And because they don't have what might be a sufficient backup, it's a big deal. So, and this all goes back to one key spot too, quarterback. Because if you had a quarterback who you completely trusted, then if Dalvin Cook can play and can stay healthy and on the field, that's fantastic. And if he can't, it might be a bit of a problem, but your quarterback, if he was a standout, could find a way around that, right? The Vikings don't have that. The Vikings have find themselves now in a place where Dalvin Cook is incredibly important because every element of that offense that can help the quarterback is. But ordinarily, if I was in charge of the Vikings roster construction, I wouldn't put myself in a position where Dalvin Cook becomes as crucial as he is. But again, because they didn't have cap space, if you could have brought Murray back, I think our feeling about this would be far different. But the problem now is it's Dalvin Cook, who should be important, followed by essentially unknown.
I think that really depends on how good the younger guys are, because no one is going to be quite the talent level of Dalvin Cook. He should have been a first-round pick. The only reason he wasn't was some off-field stuff, and there were concerns about who he was still hanging out with, stuff like that. None of it has come to fruition with Dalvin Cook. In fact, I saw that he just started some big charity thing, and being still on a rookie contract is only a second-round pick. I'm not sure that it's.
You might advise him to keep his money.
Well, I mean, he's going to be doing it to raise money and everything else like that. And I think with Dalvin that it's genuine. It's not just like, look, I've got a charity now all of a sudden. I think that I had heard that about him early in his career, that he wanted to reach out to community and do everything he could, those things. He comes from a tough area. So like, with Dalvin Cook, you have somebody who is a special type of talent of running back, where you look at his yards after contact. They're spectacular. PFF does a thing called elusive rating that combines the yards after contact with the broken tackles, and he's one of the best in the NFL from last year. He's very, very hard to take down. But if we try to do the math and figure out, okay, what would Alexander Madison, Mike Boone, and Amir Abdullah add up all three of them together? And actually, you bring up Latavius Murray. He's a great example of this. The 2016 Oakland Raiders did not have a star running back. They used 3 running backs, and they added up to, I'll get the exact numbers here, but they added up to being one of the more productive teams from the running back position by using 3 different guys. So Boone is a really great athlete. Rock Thomas has got more, kind of, what would you call it, like instincts. And Alexander Madison is the bruiser type of guy. And then Amir Abdullah can catch passes out of the backfield. The point just being that, of course, Dalvin Cook is more talented than these people and can do everything and is a heck of a good time to watch him play football. He is special. And so is Saquon Barkley, and so is Melvin Gordon, and so are 10 other running backs in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But if he goes down, I wouldn't change anything about how I think that this year is going to play out for the Minnesota Vikings, just because they've right now designed their offense to have him be their centerpiece. With that position, I think you can always change on the fly.
You can change it, but I guess my question then comes back to, if Cook gets hurt, who do you trust most to block? Who catches best? Because he brings the thing that he brings is he's the anti-Peterson. He brings a full package of assets that I want to use. If he gets hurt now I've got to sit down and decide of his backups who fits what role best. And it can work. I'm defaulting constantly going back to what takes my quarterback and props him up, because I don't have a top QB who can basically, or ordinarily, if you've got a top 5 QB, he does what? He takes your offense and props it up himself.
Yep.
And then the personnel pieces behind him fall into place. This to me is the polar opposite.
I think I'm just putting it under the category of being overstated, not untrue, but overstated.
I think as a rule, you are 1,000% right.